What's up everybody? Back at it again with another Magnum Quest video, and this will be the first video part of a small video series, and no, you're not going to have to wait weeks, months, based off my slow upload rate to see all of it. I have everything done, just finishing up the editing. This series will be updating my old video if needed regarding faction ascension priority, but with an added twist, I'm going to be throwing in my star map faction hero priority as well. I'm going to make it organized, hopefully enjoyable, highlighting my reasoning for my choices, and it should be very helpful for a lot of players and allow you to avoid making the wrong decisions that I made, which can hurt your progression and you may never recover from it. So let's get it. So as you can tell by the thumbnail, this is going to be dealing with the Forest faction. The first half will be updating, if needed, my Ascension priority way back in October 2021. A lot has changed since then. Forest got a new hero. I learned how to actually say Ion instead of Lone, Osishi instead of Oshishi. My knowledge has hopefully improved, so I think this is the right time for an update. So Forest faction heroes, top 5, let's go. Number 1, gonna be Fi. I still think Fi should be your number 1 Ascension focus, because he's one of the heroes in the game that requires so much attention to be helpful. Without Ascension, star map investment, his damage is non-existent. All he's used for is his scurry skill seen here for the haste at the beginning. With attention or investment, I think is the better term, his damage is relative, not great, but at least it's noticeable. Coming in at number 2 is going to be Fair. I have him in this spot because he's a frontliner and heavily used to counter specific enemy setups. He needs those Ascension stars to improve survivability. Otherwise, when he pulls in the enemies with his Fatal Attraction skill, whether PvE or PvP, he's just gonna die. I mean, if you are running Ion, it's easier, but Act 2 requires 2 and then 3 teams. PvP requires 3 defenses, depending on which game mode you're doing. So yeah, you won't always have the luxury of running Fair with Ion. Coming in at number 3, we have Ion. I have her in this spot because she's used everywhere. One of the best heroes, and she's not even a rare faction like Divinity or Abyss. Her revival skill, Vines to the Rescue, is a game changer, makes any setup you do worthy of success. She needs the Ascension focus, just like Fair, to improve her stats, which then improves her survivability, because if she dies early, you obviously can't utilize Vines to the Rescue, so when your heroes die, they die for good. RIP. Coming in at number 4 is going to be Fabian or Cyan. This is a bit of a toss-up for me. I didn't want to use these 2 heroes to take up 2 spots, but I mean, potentially you could. So I have this set up with more of like a pick which one you like. You can either go with Fabian or you can go with Cyan. Lots of it's going to have to do with your summon luck, but also the kind of playstyle you enjoy. Fabian is great on bosses due to his ferocity stacks, which help him ignore defense, so obviously he has potential to do high damage. However, they kind of missed the mark here with his sleek fur skill. The added dodge isn't enough to help. He still has major survivability issues, which is why I never use him in chapter adventure or dungeon, unless I have Ion. His ignore defense can also work well for PvP, however it does take time to build up. Now Cyan, he's also great on bosses due to his bleeds and also has potential chance to ignore defense, but it's only 50% and it's not guaranteed. However, his ultimate, which to me is why I think he's such a unique hero, is wasted because you can't just pick up a boss and drag him off the screen, and that is why I feel he excels in chapter adventure and dungeons and then PvP. The ability to remove a hero from the battlefield so you can have the number advantage is huge. So yeah, either works, it just depends which you favor more. And then coming in at number 5 is going to be Osishi. I have her here simply because when you make it into Act 2 in chapter adventure requiring 2 then 3 teams, you're going to need her. Ascension stars not only improve survivability like I've mentioned, but boost your overall team power so you don't get hit with not meeting that minimum combat power requirement. Basically, it's the blue screen of death. Let me know down in the comments your thoughts about this list because, disclaimer, this is just my opinion after spending money, lots of money, many days upon months of playing, investing into heroes, making the wrong decisions, making it into late game, and then surpassing that to, I guess you would call, end game, where these players and myself basically just sit around at a table.
Gentlemen, I have a plan.
And talk about, well, nothing. It's quiet. Now what? Basically waiting for the next big update. And now for the second half, this is going to be the star map priority list. This is something new. I haven't done this before. I mean, I have made like starter heroes to invest into, but I never focused on each faction. Just remember, this is for that said faction. I'm not taking into consideration any others, so we're only going to be focusing on Forest, not Shadow, not Wild, not Fortress, just Forest. After this mini series is done, I will be doing an overall star map priority list because I think both are equally helpful. Future Giraffe here. As I was editing this video, I realized I missed a few things. I know, as usual, professional I am not, but I just wanted to mention in case anyone is newer to the game, the best way to be star map resource efficient is to always work on one attack type at a time for the tokens, and if you can swing it, a different faction for lights as well. An example would be like 1 strength, maybe that's Wild, then 1 agility, maybe that's Forest, then 1 intel, maybe that's Fortress. Why is this smart? Well, it's because then you're not overlapping resources. You will most definitely progress through a star map faster this way compared to if you were working on 2 strength at a time, because both require the same tokens, unless they're in different tiers, meaning one is in the bronze tier and then the other is in maybe silver or gold. Now, different factions, it isn't fully needed. I mean, it is because as you progress, things get more expensive, but earlier on, I think you can swing it because of this awesome shop right here. It's going to be the Hunter Tavern. It only costs 1k of this shop's currency for 500k lights of whatever faction you want. 1k is super cheap and super easy to get, however you will have to refresh and the price increases each time, or you simply have to wait till the shop timer ends, which is seen here, and then the shop is going to reset. Alright, so that's all I wanted to say here, but I will be popping in once more later because yeah, I messed up a part. So top 5, here we go. Number 1, we have Fi. I suggest to take him straight to gold, even though his late game damage isn't as amazing as I once thought way back in my older videos, but without it, he does barely anything, as I mentioned already, and when done bronze tier, you can work into Fabian or Cyan. This depends on your summon luck or what hero interests you more. The reasons why I have Fi as my top Forest agility hero is because he needs the star map investment. A lot of heroes in the game are initially strong, and then with investment becomes stronger. Fi is a little bit different. He is initially weak, and then with investment becomes more so relevant. Not strong, but somewhere in between. Without investment, all he is good for is his scurry skill, like I mentioned, for the added haste at the beginning of the fight for your team. I will be repeating a few things, like I mentioned in the Ascension part of the video, but I do think they're important to mention again. Key features of his star map would be, for the bronze tier, you got the option of swift victory. Now, although I find I do typically have a hard time keeping his HP above 50%, I still go with it because I'm a hopeful giraffe that he can actually maintain this buff for at least half the fight. If you feel he isn't, Show of Strength would be a viable option for the reasons mentioned about his damage turning out to be not as good as I thought. This can help with that. Gold tier, not really anything special here. I would have rather liked to see Torrential Attack for more haste to improve attack speed, because with the other options, I find he doesn't really serve much of a purpose for bosses. There's just better options out there, beside the odd ones where there's like a forest advantage like the Julian Puppet boss. But even then, he's severely outshined by Fabian or Cyan, so Big Bully would be my choice here to help finish off those low HP enemies. Now for number 2 and 3, we have Fabian and Cyan. Very similar situation with the Ascension list. So after Fi's done bronze, you can choose between these two heroes. Personally, after finishing off Fabian's star map, giving it some time to adjust after my initial reaction to him, I think he's one of the more solid heroes they have recently released, not including the rare faction like Revna and Panda. Pretty shocking for me to say because when I did summons for him, I got him. I was really salty. I already mentioned the reasons to help with your decision, but to add a little bit more, if Fabian is your choice, he's a honey badger.
Absolute whirling dervish.
Don't mess with honey badgers. He builds his ferocity stacks off normal attacks, so synergizing with attack speed is ideal either with cards or other heroes, etc. He's an awesome boss DPSer, but he has low survivability. If Cyan is your choice, his ultimate ability to take a hero out of the fight it's really helpful, it's invaluable. Both heroes' key features of the star map is similar to other agility heroes. Fire of Hatred and Fury of War are strong damage boosts if picked as the bronze or gold tier skills. So the ranking for number 2 and 3 is going to depend on what hero you favor more. Future Giraffe is back here. So yeah, I really got confused here when I was going over my wording, and what I meant was instead of Fabian and Cyan being either rank 2 or 3, choose one based off your preference to be second, because DPS, like I mentioned earlier, always has the best return value I find. Then instead of this next hero being ranked 4, he's actually going to be ranked 3. Hopefully you're still following along here. And finally for rank 4, it's either going to be Fabian or Cyan, so whoever you didn't choose for rank 2. Sheesh, I'm terrible at this. Coming in at number 4, we're going to have Fair. Now I personally have only completed his bronze tier because I was focusing on others first. However, I would take him straight to gold, even though he kind of got pushed to the side with the introduction of Lycidas, aka Dracula. PvE and PvP, he's still a huge help and a hard counter to popular setups. Act 2 requires 2 and then 3 teams, I've said this before, and definitely a must-have for the Forest Dungeon. Reasons why I have Fair as my top 4 strength hero is because I sure as heck don't want Monroe. Sorry Aquaman, but I'm good, I'm gonna pass. But yeah, the reason is his Fatal Attraction skill. I've mentioned this many times on this channel throughout different videos, but that pull skill is so good and can synergize well with a lot of heroes, not just Ares or Gaia, which are the ones I typically mention. Another solid skill is his Unstoppable Blade, which adds a defense debuff of 40%. That's a lot. Key features of his star map would be, for the bronze tier, we have Veteran's Instinct. I think this is another prime example of a star map that is well suited for the hero because of that Fatal Attraction pull skill, and being a tank frontliner, the enemies will be close to him. So even though the percent value caps at 8%, you're going to be utilizing the higher portion more often. Now, like I said, I only have him in bronze. His gold tier, I'm actually pretty excited to get due to that Hunter's Delight. I think most will go for adaptation to ailment to make him more tanky, and you're always guaranteed to have negative effects in battle. But I just think it would be funny to see his pull skill get refreshed quickly based off enemies falling in battle. Like, you get a pull, you get a pull, you get a pull, basically playing ping pong with the enemy team. Coming in at number 5, we have Ione. Now she is a support, and supports I just don't get the same value. Actually not even close, opposed to like putting my effort into DPSers, but she is used everywhere. OP tier. Her revival skill, you just have to respect it. It's so valuable. I would at least finish her bronze tier. Reasons why I have Ione as my top Forest Intel hero is because the Forest faction is in desperate need of an Intel DPSer. Some can argue Emilia, even though she's support, built damage can output respectable numbers. But listen, I don't got the money to be throwing it at any hero I want. Maybe you do, I don't. Plain and simple, Ione is on this list because of the revive, vines to the rescue skill. Her ultimate is also decent, applying a brief entangle effect for CC. Key features of her star map, bronze tier. Because I chose this skill, you can see she gains a shield based off her max HP. So it would have been more smart of me to go HP here instead of def. But is it worth the 200 dragon shards to reset? Not to me. But the reason I mention this is because I really only want her to survive, because if she dies, like I mentioned earlier, then she can't use her famous revive skill, so I think this is a solid option in my go-to. As for the gold tier, definitely take Domino Effect for... Don't actually do that, or maybe. I mean, with how this game works, it could be like a secret mechanic that somehow hasn't properly been coded with their ultimate. You never know. Just like the Ascension list, comment down below if you would invest differently. I try my best to read all the comments and respond, but sometimes there's just too much or I'm just too busy, but I do try to respond to as much as I can. Hopefully this helps players out in regards to your decision making. The other videos in this little mini series will be posted shortly after this one. I'm going to be aiming for 1 a day. As always, thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for future videos, and stay tuned for the next one.